Hello and welcome to our fourth and final preseason episode of SuperCoach Edge ahead of round one. My name's Damon and I'm joined as always by my co-host Liam. Now, we're only a couple of days out from the start of round one kicking off, and I imagine a vast majority of SuperCoaches out there, like us Liam, are in a complete frenzy trying to finalise our teams.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Yes, that's right. Been burning the candle at both ends. Bringing some players in, which probably have no right being in my side. Dropping others who I think will end up back in my side, and just trying out lots of different strategies and options. Some logical, some just, a little bit left field. Like to see what weird options I can come up with. But with round one fast approaching, I think the options are becoming a little less left field and a little bit more serious, which is good to see.
And I can tell Liam that you're just as excited as me for round one, as I
Do you shiver with anticipation?
Anyway, enough joking around, as it's a quicker-fire show today, where we'll be revealing our teams. The SuperCoach Edge patented crystal ball makes a return, Liam.
Yes.
As we give our predictions as to who we think will be the top scorers across each line, and we'll be answering, of course, some questions from you, the good folk of the SuperCoach Edge community, to help solve those big team dilemmas.
Yes, and just before we kick off, don't forget to follow us across all of our social channels to keep up with the latest news and content as it drops. On YouTube, search SuperCoach Edge, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Whatever.
On Twitter, you can find us at @SuperCoach_Edge. You'll find David at DamoJ88, myself at Liam Evans _95, and on Facebook and Instagram, just search SuperCoach Edge and you'll find us there. Now, just a quick reminder, with round one literally just around the corner, don't forget to jump into a tier 3 of our Patreon that features the Cash League, and obviously a myriad of other benefits as well. But the winner of that Cash League will get some cash, obviously, a shiny SuperCoach ring from the legends at SuperCoach Championship Rings, and they'll get a guest spot on our potty. So on the last potty of the season as well. So obviously can't do it any earlier. But if you're keen, sign up. It's literally your last chance.
Yep.
So don't leave it too late. To find out more and to join our Patreon, head to www.patreon.com/SuperCoach Edge.
Very nice. And I did like how you composed yourself there, Liam, where you almost slipped yourself up with the other subscribe. Very, very good by you. But yes, jump into that Patreon tier 3 if you are keen for a cash lead, because yes, as you said, time is running out. Time is of the essence.
It is.
So let's get into it, and let's get into the show with our first segment, as we exclusively, as Tom Brown would say, Liam, unveil our teams. So I thought we could do it in a nice throwback fashion, to yesteryear. A very, very nice time where being able to check live scores on the internet wasn't really a thing in the early 90s. Yeah, I know. This is a thing, just with the internet not being around. Yeah, strange, isn't it? Shows how old I am, probably more so than yourself, Liam, and probably kudos to you for remembering this. But it was a time when you couldn't check live scores during the 90s, and on the broadcast, they prompted you to look away if you didn't want to know the scores as they flashed it up on the broadcast. So this is a little snippet from that I always love harping back to.
If you don't wish to know the score, I suggest you look away now.
Yes, what an absolute banger, Liam. Right on the tip of my tongue. They used to have a few others as well. They used to have Madonna, My Baby's Got a Secret, a few other ones as well, which were quite good as well. And just reminds me of a simpler time when there was no internet and no social media. Amazing. Anyway, let's move on to the teams. And for defence, the structure is 3 primos, 1 mid-pricer, and then I have 2 rookies. This is on field, of course. Kicking it off at D1. It's a bit of a contentious one, but Jack Crisp, he comes in at D1 for me. He actually took the spot of the Seagull, Jake Lloyd, very late because I needed to shore up some funds, as you'd appreciate as well, considering that you ended up having a team full value when you had $0 left. So I'm not quite to that level yet, but got in Jack Crisp at D1. D2, I must say, he wasn't all along. I had Ridley at D2, and I swapped him again for a little bit of just because I think I got seduced by Shorts, considering that he is the preseason king. He outperforms himself in the preseason. So hopefully he can carry this forth into the season proper. But he is Jaden Short at D2. D3, probably no surprises here. Lachie Whitfield. I've said it all along in previous episodes that he is right up there with the most, one of the biggest value options of the preseason in terms of fallen primos. So he comes in at D3, Lachie Whitfield. D4, a bit of a contentious one again. It might differ across different sides, but I'm starting to see this guy here, in a lot of different sides, and it is George Hewitt as a defensive midfielder. Comes in there at D4. D5, got Paddy McCartan. He's been there all along. And then Sam DeConning, also another guy who's sort of been one of the pillars in terms of rookies in defence there. Hopefully that coach, who shall not be named, Liam, doesn't stuff us over and plays him for most of the year. On the bench, I have Will Kelly at the moment. This is really hard. As we know, defensive rookies are really sparse. So Willie Kelly comes in. I'm actually expecting him to line up in defence for the Pies, especially since, what's his name? Dean went down with injury. So I think Will Kelly will come in to the Pies lineup and will fill a void there for them. So he's on the bench. And then alongside him, I have Nathan O'Driscoll, who was a bit of a bolter before those preseason games, but hopefully he can find a spot in the Freo team and get an opportunity. Moving on to the midfield, I have Jack McRae at M1. He's just instant selection, I think, alongside the M2 spot, which is Jack Steele. And then I have at M3, used to be Clayton Oliver, but I actually upgraded him by forking out an extra 5K. Geez, I'm very, very tight with my funds, but was willing to actually spend a little bit more to get in the running man, as I like to call him, Took Miller. And then at M4, I have Lachie Neale. A lot of people will have him. Should be in every single side, I think. M5, I've gone with our man. I'm going to say collective man, Liam.
Yeah.
And it is Matty Rowell. Matty, the only way is up. Rowell. That's what I'm going to refer to him as. Not the roller coaster. The roller coaster, yeah. He's the only way is up for Matty Rowell. And then at M6, I have Jared Berry. I think a lot of people will have him after his good showing of form over the preseason. Yep. And then probably no surprise there, Horne Francis at M7. And then at M8, I have Nick Dacos. So both of those rookie dynamos. And then moving across to the bench, again, no surprises here. I've got Ward from Hawthorn. Higher price rookie, but justified because he will get opportunity and he's shown over the preseason that he actually can score pretty well. And then in terms of the other two guys on the bench, I wouldn't pay too much attention to this because these two guys are just pretty much placeholders at the moment. I've had Elijah Hollins on my bench all preseason, and of course, he's had a few niggles over the preseason. I think he came off a major injury last year of sorts. And then alongside him, I have, I don't know how to pronounce it. I've heard it's pronounced Chittis, not Sitsas, but however you pronounce it, he's on my bench at the moment, bottom price. I think I will actually keep him as a ongoing loophole because I am confident that he's going to get some games, even if he doesn't get named in round one.
Yeah.
So Elijah Hollins may be swapped to, I think, McDonald, who's 117K from the Hawks, but wait and see there in terms of selection. So just rounding out as well, going back in terms of the structure, I have 4 primos, 2 mid-prices, or bolters if you want to call them that, and 2 rookies. And then moving on to the rucks, probably no surprise here, set and forget combo with Gaundy taking the mantle for the 3rd consecutive year running. As to who sits at R3 on the bench comes down to selection, I think. Even if it isn't selected in round 1, I'm quietly confident that Sam Hayes will get some sort of opportunity for Port, given their willingness to play 2 ruckmen at once in the past, with Lysett and the support from Laddams when he was there. Of course, with Laddams now at the Swans, it opens up that spot for Hayes. Likewise, the fact that Lysett suffered a niggle during the preseason, I think Port may want to give him support so he isn't shouldering 100% of the ruck, especially early days. And then my other option, if I don't go for Sam Hayes, is switching Jack Hayes or Hugh Dixon into the R3 spot, activating that swing between ruck and forward, and using spare coin to bring in another rookie up forward. So that speaks for itself. Just 2 out-and-out primos right there. In terms of the forward line, it's probably very cookie-cutter bar one player that may differ from some at F4, with a structure of 2 primos, 2 mid-prices or bolters, or potential bolters, and 2 rookies. So going through those, I've Dunkley and Butters, who I think should be in 100% of teams. That's pretty much all I'll say. Cogs comes in at that F3 spot and selects himself as also one of the biggest value mid-pricer options of 2022. Everyone has him, which negates the risk, even if he finds himself more up forward for stages thanks to the resident SuperCoach villain that is Leon Cameron. And then alongside him, I have a spot that's been chopping and changing across the journey of the preseason in that F4 spot. And that is McGovern, who is one breakout candidate I'm taking a punt on. You obviously would have heard me speaking highly of him in last week's ep. And this is one spot who, it's kind of been the merry-go-round with Charlie Curnow being there initially. Then I swapped to Will Brodie. So they've both been in that spot at some stage or another. And in terms of selecting McGovern, their contingency, which we spoke of last week as well, and the plan is that if Gov doesn't fire, to trade him down to Brodie if Brodie starts well and bank nearly 32k. So hopefully that doesn't happen. I don't have to waste a trade, but we'll just wait and see there. So it's always a good thing to think ahead and have some contingencies. And then in terms of the rookies, I have Rochelle or Ross, as I like to call him. He's one of the biggest must-have rookies outside of Horne, Francis and Dakes, and is an instant selection. So that last on-field spot alongside him at F6 will probably be rotated between Jack Hayes and the bench options of Nick Martin, which every time I hear his name, I think of Mick Martin from North Melbourne, the old Chrome Dome. And so, it'd be Nick Martin and Hugh Dixon. All decent cash cows, I think. Hopefully Nick Martin gets an opportunity for your mob, Liam, and they can make some decent cash for us. So, I guess that's probably where I sit currently, but a change or two, depending on rookie selections for round one. And what about you, Liam? How are you shaping up?
Yes, I'll run through my team quickly. I just actually realized, just looking at that, I don't have Rochelle in, and I didn't realize that until just then. And that's that's a oversight on my part. So I will have to find some cash from my $0 in the bank and get him in.
Well done, Liam. Well done.
Anyway, I'll get back to that later. Bloody hell! I told you I'd made some weird choices. But anyway. Yep. Let's kick off with my side. In defense, and this is all subject to change. I think the structures will remain the same. I think in general, the primos will remain the same. It's obviously and most of the mid prices, I think it's just the rookies that are going to be chopped and changed a little bit. But I have outlined which ones will be locks as far as I see. But let's kick off. In defense, I've gone with the 3 primos, the 1 mid pricer, and the 2 on-field rookies. The primos are Crisp, Ridley, and Short. I think they're easy picks, despite Lloyd being in my side for most of the preseason. He did make way after his performance in the preseason matches. Not that I think it was underwhelming, but it wasn't poor by any means. I think it'll still be a top 6 mid by season's end, but I think I'd rather use the cash at this stage on some other options. And I think at his higher price, I can downgrade him to someone like Crisp, and then have some cash left over. And I might have downgrade Crisp to someone else to get Rochelle in, but we'll have to see what happens there.
Fellas,
I did forgo Whitfield, and I have forgone him based off his injury history. I think he's going to break down at some stage. I think he is good value, but I'm happy not to have him, to be honest. I'm not too concerned about not having him, but he's potentially one. Maybe I downgrade a Ridley and I can get Rochelle in, or a Short. But that's TBD, let's be honest. I feel like I've made a really big mistake here. But anyway.
I've made a huge mistake.
I've made a huge mistake.
Job, instead of always coming to me, asking me for money, saying, I've made a huge mistake, you can bail yourself out next time.
I've never admitted to a mistake.
Hewitt and Sicily would probably be in that same spot in M4. Sicily did sort of sit in that spot for most of the preseason, but I think Hewitt's performances through the preseason have, just really stood out. And I think his lower price makes him a better option, in my opinion. I think they'll probably score the same level, or Hewitt slightly higher. So I think the cheaper option makes more sense. All the rookies, especially in defense, are subject to change. I don't know what's going to happen with the namings, but currently I've got Hinge and McCartan on field, and O'Driscoll and DeConning on the bench. Again, it's sort of that rookie roulette that always comes up. You never know who's going to score best at the start. So it's just going to be sort of taking a guess, I guess. Moving on to the mids. I've gone 3 primos in McRae, Steele, and Miller. I think they're all walk-up starters. Like you, I had Oliver, but I've moved him up to Miller. I think Miller might even end up being sort of the number 1 mid by season's end. He just looks like an absolute ball magnet, and as you call him, he's the running man. Neil, I haven't classified as a primo, but more so just because of his price. I think he's an underpriced primo, but he's by all means going to stay in my side till the end of the season. I think again we'll finish top 8 in his position. Another easy pick. I think he should be in every side. Rel and Berry, I've picked as mid prices, I guess. I think Berry should make some decent cash. He's in contention to be changed with Caldwell, but I can't really see a change happening at this stage. They're sort of that same price. I think Berry's role has more upside. And Rao, I think, could be a potential M8 or M9 keeper, depending on how his scoring goes. And I think he can potentially be a keeper for the rest of the season. Jason Horne, Francis, and Dacos again should be in every side. They've got scoring potential and job security, perfect cash cows to have on field. And I think they both might get some handy DPP status as well come round 6. And bench options, again, subject to being named, but I believe these guys all should be named. Ward from the Hawks, McDonald from the Hawks, and Howe from Hoff, maybe Hoff, like Goff,
I don't know.
yeah. From the Eagles. Simpson, just on that, has sort of hinted at the fact that there's going to be a few debuts coming up for them, so keep an eye on West Coast team sheet for rookies. Now moving quickly onto the rucks, simple options in Gaundy we trust. They've been locked in my side. At this stage, I've also got a non-playing ruck as a loophole option in, I'm not sure what his name is, Akui. I hope that's his name. But the reason I've gone with him at this stage, I mean, it might change again, but it helps open up the links between forwards, defense, and ruck with his DPP. So he's got defensive ruck options, and I've got sort of a lot of defense forward defenders and a few ruck forwards at this stage. So like there'll be lots of ability to move them around as needed. And let's move on to the forwards finally. Dunkley, Butters, and Cogs are simple, easy picks. I think you should, if you're not picking them, it's at your own peril. Only concern for me with Cogs is, yet again, Leon Cameron has mentioned he may be played as a deep forward as the need arises. But I think he still presents such good value, and I think it'll be negated by his midfield abilities. I don't know. I reckon Leon Cameron just hates fantasy football. He
hates this.
Yeah, just does this kind of stuff. But anyway, I think regardless, I wouldn't be scared off by that. I think at his price, he's going to make some coin at the very least. McGovern comes in as a mid-pricer, big call. But I think he could end up being, I don't want to say he's the Jay-Z of 2022. I don't think he has the ceiling, but I think he could end up being a nice keeper for sort of that F6, F7 sort of spot, or potentially D7, depending on, well, he's going to get the DPP status, you would assume. In general, my advice is to pick McGovern over the likes of Brody or Sherry. He's the most expensive and therefore easier to trade down to one of these guys as a corrective trade if need be. So that's why I haven't gone for a Brody or a Jerry in that position. Yep. And then in the terms of rookies, again, work in progress. Rochelle will be coming in somehow. But I've currently got Baldwin, Hayes from the Saints, Nick Martin and Hugh Dixon. I think between those guys, there'll be obviously 3 of them will stay. But I think there'll be enough playing to, pick out of those guys for that last sort of on-field spot other than Rochelle.
Very nice. And just looking over our team, so there isn't too much different. And I think there's a lot of teams out there that will be thinking along the same lines as us with, McGovern as a potential option, just trying to be frugal and save a bit of money so we can justify, spending upwards to try and get those high-priced rookies like Horne, Francis, Dacos, Ward. So we've had to be very smart and thrifty with our money. So yeah, I mean, it's good that hopefully it's a good sign for me anyway that you've also gone with Raul and Berry, Gov, and yeah, I'm just glad that I've got one over you with Rochelle on my team, and you haven't got him. He's coming in, don't worry, he's coming in. He's coming in. But yeah, no, very nice. And I'm very interested as well to see how we go. Like if you stick with that same structure of not having Whitfield, that'd be interesting comparison early days to see how things go. It might be justified. Like I'm very much of the same mindset as well, that it's a big risk with Whitfield with his durability. But yeah, I mean, my only justification is that saving me coin and I need to save coin.
Yeah. And that's what looking at that's the main thing I think I'm looking at now, the value there. But it's also, I think the reason I haven't picked him is it's a long season and he might bank some points early, but if he goes down in, early on, it's a trade you have to make that I'm hopefully not having to make and might, pay off across the season.
Very nice. Well, I think it's time, Liam, to dust off our SuperCoach Edge patented crystal ball. Remember that?
Yes.
Gee whiz, it's back. It is back for another season. So let's cast our mind forward into the future and predict who we think will finish among the top spots in each line. So, Liam, I ask of you, do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? All right, you can kick us off if you like, Liam.
Yeah, let's kick off. I'll run through these pretty quickly. I feel like most of them won't need much justification, but there's a couple here that I've tried to just, look deep into the ball and see what
Don't look too deep. Don't look too deep. You get lost.
No, it's you gotta go real, gotta have real good connection between the crystal ball and your mind. Anyway, in defense, my top six, I've got Jack Crisp, Jaden Short, Jake Lloyd, Jordan Ridley, Tom Stewart as my D1 to 5. This is in no particular order. I mean, these are just sort of in general, but in the last spot, I've gone for a cheeky slash.
That is cheeky.
Very cheeky slash, but I think it comes down to the defensive status. And these are some DPP changes. So I've got Pendlebury / McGrath. And I think that I think Pendlebury will 100% get the DPP status, but if McGrath can manage to get it, I think he, with his ball winning ability and his time through the middle and going back into defense, he'll be a good option. Assuming he gets that DPP status for the defensive. So it is a bit of a cheeky pick. Yep. But I think Pendlebury and McGrath, both good options for that defensive sort of D6 as well.
Very nice.
Now moving on to the mids. I've got, again, most of these shouldn't surprise. I've got Miller, Steele, McRae, Oliver, Neal, and Mitchell. And then I've got my boy Parrish. I reckon he's in for a big season. And another sneaky little option, I think, just go along quietly, hopefully, and sneak into that M8 position is your boy, Matty, our boy, Matty Rao. The only way is up. Only way is up. And the only way is up for him to finish in that M8 position, hopefully.
Yep, that's it. Like that.
Ruck, no surprise. Gordon Grundy, let's move on. Forwards, I've got Dunks, Butters, Cogs. I think he's good price. I think he'll be the Jay-Z of 2022. I've got Dusty Martin. I think he's in for a big season, hopefully. I've got Adam Treloar. Yep. I think that's fair. And then Timmy Taranto, I think he's going to be one of those seesawing players, but I think he'll end up averaging that over the season.
Very nice. Now, just quickly comparing notes, apart from the fact that you did a sneaky on me and you added in a Pendles and a McGrath in defense. I didn't know we're factoring in potential DPP options. But
I mean, it's what's going to happen. You asked me what's happening at the end of the year.
Oh, that's true. That's true. The crystal ball doesn't lie. It tells the truth, Liam. As we know. We are the truth tellers here at SuperCoach Edge, Liam.
Yes.
Well, let's go through my predictions. Let me just have a little bit of a look. Yes, okay. Yes, I'm seeing in defense Jack Crisp. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing a Seagull Lloyd. I'm seeing a bit of a short man. Must be a reference to Short from Richmond.
Yep, makes sense.
I've got Whitfield coming in, which is a bit of a surprise for you. I mean, that's the one different. Ridley, and I also have Stewart. So just comparing the pair, which may make a comeback as well this year in 2022. I think, the main differences are Whitfield. You've got Pendles and McGrath, and you've also got, I think that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's it, just those was going to say 2 players, but you've added 2 there, so it's 3. Those are the 3 main differences there. But yeah, I totally agree. I think if Pendles gets the DPP, which we expect
Mine
he
must
should,
be. Sorry, Damon. Did you do the update on the the required update for the crystal ball to make sure you get DPP status changes in there? Come on.
Oh no, I didn't do the firmware update. Damn it! Oh, I'm an idiot. All right, I'll do it ahead of next week. Don't worry. Sorry, apologies. Sorry, Jesus. At least it doesn't crash on me like the old firmware update. So we'll see how we go. But moving into the midfield, pretty similar. I've got Miller, Steele, McRae, Oliver, Neil, Mitchell, Bont, and then Petrarca. So the 2 main differences there are our boy, Matty Rowell, and Parish I have Bont and Track. I think, it's sort of, when you get towards the back end of like M7, M8, I think you can interchange guys there in that spot. So, as we see over the course of the year, I think the top 3 guys, like you said as well, I can really see Miller stepping up. And I think McRae was the highest scoring mid last year. So I can really see Miller giving him a run for his money there and being a genuine M1 just because of his ability to just get the ball, run all day, and just score points out of his backside. So I think that's sort of my prediction for the M1. Moving on to the rucks, again, no real surprise, Gaundy, set and forget. And then in the forwards, I have Dunks, Butters, Ads Trelaw, Duncan, Taranto, and Canelio. So Duncan is the main difference between mine and yours, and you've got Dusty Martin. Actually, I must admit, and it must be to do with that firmware update that I didn't put in, but I didn't actually see Martin at all in the crystal ball. So hopefully that doesn't foreshadow signs that he's getting injured he's just falling away. But I think now he's at the stage where, in his career anyway, he's hit the highest of heights. And I think this may be the time where he's starting to taper down like, Richmond are as a team. So I think, there's a genuine chance there that he can finish in the top 6 forwards. But I think Duncan, mind you, Duncan as well has had a calf issue over the preseason. So that may pop up again in season. Hopefully it doesn't for his case. And that may actually see him come undone. So he's the main guy that I can see falling away from my forward line, and who knows? You may be right, Liam. Dusty may find his way in.
Yes.
But let's move on, Liam, to the predicted DPP changes. There, you've actually foreshadowed it by naming Pendles and McGrath. Who else have we got there?
Yeah. So obviously Pendles and McGrath coming in potentially as a defensive mid option. I've also got Dacos. So I think with what we've seen in the preseason games, I think he potentially goes back a little bit and gets to play in that half back role a little bit, as well as playing through the middle. Dane Zorko has also been training as a backman, another option that might become defensive eligible. And Jordan Dawson, I just think obviously will get that mid status, especially early on with Laird out with a hand injury. So he'll just be getting sort of free reign through the middle.
Yeah, for sure. Next one is for defense forward. We referenced him early on, and it is Gov Mcgovern. He should get that defensive eligibility added on or tacked on to his forward line eligibility. So that'll be a nice little swing as well, especially if you've got the likes of De Conning and who's the other one? Oh, and Paddy McCartan in defense. So that'll definitely help in terms of probably more so, obviously coverage across both lines between those 3 guys, but also when you're trading as well. So, doing a bit of a switcheroo if you want to upgrade or downgrade to a rookie in the opposite spot. So, yeah, that'll be super handy.
Yes, and in the mid-forward options, we've got Jason Horne-Francis. I think there's no doubt that he'll end up getting some forward eligibility. Zach Butters is currently only listed as a forward, so he's going to get mid eligibility, you'd assume, with what we've seen. Nat Fife, I know he said during the week that he is going to play, that the forward experiment is over. I can't see it.
No, don't believe it.
I just can't see it, to be honest. I think he might play more time in the mid, but I think he'll still play enough time in the forward line to get some forward eligibility. Cam Rayner, again, forward eligible. I think he'll get some midfield eligibility as well. And I mean, maybe Bontempelli. Maybe he plays enough time forward, plays enough forward that we get to see him finally listed as a forward as well.
Yes, I like it. So a lot of people haven't really factored that in. And as we know, he has been spending time up forward over the past few years, but not enough to warrant a forward eligibility. So, yeah, who knows? He may be the one genuine out and out existing primo that becomes forward eligible. That'll be quite handy. But moving on to another category which we've thrown in there is a bit of a speculative one, and we have titled it, Liam, thanks to yourself, very very good creative mind here, the big balls selection. So you've got to have some big balls here, some big plums, Liam, to select these guys from the outset. And you have said that previously with who's the young bloke? Sorry, his name escapes me. For Freo,
Heath Chapman.
So he's one guy who could fall into this category, but we spoke about him already. So there's a couple more guys here that we've listed, and kicking it off with Justin Mcinerney. I'll leave the other guy to you, Liam, because you know more about him than me. For obvious reasons, we'll find out shortly. But Justin Mcinerney, defence midfield eligible, priced at $411K. And we haven't really spoken about him over the previous episodes, and we probably should have, because he scored quite well over the preseason. He scored 127 in his hit out against the Roos in the week just gone, and he did this off the back of a solid performance also in the Swans' first preseason game. So, you know, with the likes of JPK and Parker a year older, I just think that, you know, this may be the year that he gets more opportunity to take, midfield reins from these guys, and especially JPK. I think he's may be the last year for him. I think
he's definitely being phased out.
Yeah, he may be one guy who finds himself spending more time forward. He might be one. But Justin Mcinerney, I've seen a few people have him in their sides, and I actually don't like it. I don't like it. I don't mind it. So there's a Freudian slip there because he's not in my team. But no, I don't mind it because, you know, he could be one that could be a genuine out and out, breakout contender. But yeah, at 411, it's an awkward price for me that I couldn't really justify. But for those of you who have the big balls, or for the ladies out there who have I suppose they can have big balls as well. Not literally. Best of luck to those of you out there. I'll move on quickly. I'm digging a hole.
Yep. I'm going to kick off. I'm going to just jump in there, save you from continuing that whole digging. The other big, and I think this is where it really sparked from, is I think I messaged you and said, Archie Perkins.
Yes.
Take a look at his scoring. Priced at 272.7K, forward eligible. He's actually averaged 108 across both preseason games. Pretty strong scoring there. His role has been as a sort of high half forward with some stints through the middle. And I really don't see that changing in season. He's managed to hit the scoreboard, which was sort of an issue for him last year. He just kind of continued to pepper the goals. But I think it's a big decision. It'd be a big decision to bring him in, especially based on his average of 50.1 from season 2021, sorry. But he could be a really great pod option. But again, I think as Damon alluded to, you need some big balls to bring him in at that price. I mean, maybe he's an option if McGovern fails as well. You could downgrade to him, I think, off memory. I can't remember exactly what McGovern's priced at. You would have to upgrade, I think.
16,
yeah. Okay.
16K.
Maybe bring in Perkins and then you can downgrade to McGovern.
Just have an each way bet across 3 players.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, that's
good.
It. I like it, Liam. And that wasn't just when I saw that message came through. I thought, here we go. He's the man with the Dons cap on, not the Carlton one, but the man with the Dons. I should say the one-eyed sunglasses on.
The red and black sunglasses on.
Yeah. But no, actually you make a really good point, because a lot of people, again, have actually, he slipped through the cracks, and a lot of people haven't really spoken about him. And I do have doubts, because it is his second season, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, for someone to make it. What's that, sorry?
So that'd be my big concern there.
Oh,
is sort of that second year blues could hit.
Yeah. But from what we've seen so far, he's got no cobwebs in sight, Liam.
And shrugging off Trelaw tackles. Those powerful hips. Just
Here we go.
Shaking them off.
Here we go. Alrighty.
Cut the hair. I'm not proud of him for that. Cut the hair, but
maybe that gives him that source of power. It might be but yeah, let's wait and see if the crystal ball has served us well come the end of the season, especially for myself, because I have to update my firmware. But now, Liam, can you hear that? It's almost a cry for help from the SuperCoach Edge community. It's a collective sound of people chanting as one.
What are they chanting, Damon?
I gots to know.
Hey, I got to know.
Kick us off, Liam.
Yes, thanks to we put out a call out and we got some very good responses. So first off, from Mitchakos at Mitchakos1 on Twitter, he asked what row becomes at the cost of either Berry, JHF, or Ward at the minute. It's Ward, but any reason it could be one of the others. I like JHF because of the round 6 DPP, but not sure Cheers. So based off that, I guess you're basically asking, should you bring in Rowell at the expense of a JHF or a Ward? More likely to be a Ward. And I think it's hard to make a definitive decision without seeing, I guess, the rest of your side. I'm a big fan of Rowell. As you probably know, it's just only going one way and she's up.
Exactly.
So I'd be getting him in. But it does depend on the rest of your side. I think Rowell will be a good stepping stone at the very least, or a nice M8 or M9 keeper potentially. So I do what I could to get him in. But Warden, it's just unfortunate because I guess Warden, Jason Horne-Francis both present as strong cash cows that we're going to need come, just to actually make any cash this season with rookies looking pretty. The rookie situation looks pretty dire. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So it's a hard one, I think, to say make a definitive decision without seeing the whole side.
Yeah. Yep. I would have said the exact same thing because it comes down to how strong your other rookies are, and if your other rookies are relatively strong, then you probably can forego, a Ward or a Horne-Francis. But yeah, I think for me, you've got to try and strike that balance between both. I think you could probably hold off on getting Rowell, but then you'd need money in the bank to upgrade to him if he does actually smash it like we're predicting him to. But yeah, it's a bit of a hard one. So flip of a coin scenario there. But we've both got Rowell. We love him. He's on the way up. Get on him if you can. Moving on to the next question, and it comes from Des on Twitter at DesB85, and he asks, "Am I nuts rolling with this ruck line in order to have additional primos elsewhere? Do you need to have either Gawn or Grundy?" And if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll be able to see this graphic. If you're listening to us on the podcast, another reason to jump across to YouTube and check us out because it is quite easier to consume with the visuals. But in his side, he's showing us a photo of Rowan Marshall and Witter from Gold Coast, and he's gone a little bit more frugal there in the rucks. So for me, I mean, Marshall and Witts, I have said all along, references in different episodes from previous years that, there's living dangerously, and then there's kind of this, which is a bit more elevated. And there's a couple of reasons why this scares me, which is both Marshall and Witts are coming off injury interrupted years, and most notably Witts, who's coming off a serious ACL. So, sure, he's cheap, but that comes with the durability risk and less guarantee of punching out high scores on a consistent basis or playing a full game and not being managed, more so, early on. And I think scoring-wise for Witts, he really does struggle to crack the ton quite consistently over the years and has a limited ceiling compared to the likes of, the big dogs in Gawn, Grundy, and probably Darcy as well, he could put into that bracket. And the second reason is that, I don't really like the option of going for these two cheaper options, is both players will need to be upgraded to a Gawn, Grundy, or Darcy at some stage. So by not starting with either of those three, you're conceding from the get-go that you'll be using multiple trades in order to fund the upgrade. So, sure, it's, starting Witts and Marshall may allow you to start with a stronger team across other lines in your team. But, playing devil's advocate, which, we love to do, it's easy to say, but you've got to factor it in. If Witts does sustain an eagle and has to sit out some time or, God forbid, hurts himself in some other way, where do you suddenly find $250K to trade him instantly up to a Gawn or Grundy? Or alternatively, at that price point, who do you trade him down to that you can be confident on producing semi-decent scores to warrant a starting spot? So given both of these guys are in, Gawn's in 50% and Grundy's in 44%, you'll instantly fall behind at least half of the competition if this was to happen in this scenario, if Witts got injured or if Marshall got injured. Marshall's probably not as bad because he comes at a higher price point, but you've got to factor it in. If that does happen, you're instantly behind the eight ball because of that. But yeah, something to factor in. I would take the safer option. I traditionally like to go the set and forget in rucks because of that reason. But yeah, I mean, you kind of come in, you must have big balls, like we spoke of before. So all the best to you.
Yeah. Yes, I have. I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Damon. And the only thing I want to sort of add is that considering the net point is just sort of consider the net points differential by going with Marshall and Witts over Gawn, Grundy or Darcy or whatever combination of those. You're going to be giving up points. Yes, I guess you'll be able to upgrade with that cash somewhere else. But you need to consider whether you're gaining back the points or you're making more points, which is what I assume you're hoping to do. So if you're sort of, foregoing Gawn and Grundy, but you're not going to get the points, are you making up with the cash you're saving? Are you making up those points elsewhere, essentially? I think it's probably hard to do. And that, as Damon sort of said, you're going to have to trade Gawn, Grundy or Darcy into your side anyway, or you have to trade both of them into your side. And I think overall the trades just cost you too much. And that's sort of the biggest issue. Now moving on to the next question. It's from Jason Prentler, on Facebook. And he asks, I see there being unsettled rookies in the back lines. Some coaches are going 5 premiums deep in the back 6. I know they are also going light in the forwards to do it. Forwards seem to have a few more options to risk it in without upsetting the normal midfield structure. What are your thoughts on a 5 premium / keeper defense to start? Thanks for your question, Jason. I think, to be honest, I think a 5 primo / keeper defense is pretty deep and probably a bit too deep. I think it starts to affect other options across the field. So I don't, even if you went really sparingly across the forward line, I can't see how you'd be able to fit in a decent midfield as well. And I don't think it allows you the flexibility as the season goes on. So for instance, players like Pendles, Dacos, McGrath, Zorko, who may get that defensive eligibility, will probably be off the tables as you're already full to the brim you're almost full to the brim with defenders. And I think that's the key issue for me. I think I'd probably be trying to back off and say maybe have 3 primos, 1 or 2 mid prices who might end up being keepers, and 1 or 2 mid price that'll become a keeper, and then 2 on-field rookies. So sort of like the structures that both Damon and I have gone for.
Yep, nail on the head right there. The fact that we've both gone for 3-1-2 in terms of our structure, I think says a lot. And yeah, I did actually consider it myself, going a bit deeper in defense, because traditionally, as we know, it's kind of one of those spots in terms of the lines across your team that defense is one of those things where you pay less attention to. But yeah, I mean, it's much of a muchness. And I think, like you said, if you overstack your defense, you're going to be deficient in other areas. So you got to try and find a balance. So I think a 3-1-2 is a good structure to go with, and the reason that we've both gone for it. Moving on to the next question, which is sent in on Facebook from Mark Tannis, and he asks, is Rochelle going to let people down? Small forward for Adelaide seems like a bad scoring position. Now, Rochelle has been one of the best performing rookies across the preseason, and looks like he has quickly made the step up to AFL level, which is quite promising. That combined with the fact that the Crows are still on the rebuild, he's not going to be starved of opportunities. So that's a tick and a tick. But, that's correct. Like you said, Mark, the role of a small forward does bring with it wild fluctuations in scoring. And, we can't expect him to score as well as he has in his first 2 games on a consistent basis. But, he's not going to let us down in terms of his, ability to make cash as a potential cash cow over the course of the season. And you're not getting in these rookies for a consistent high scoring base from week to week. It's a relatively, nice average that, dictates that he's going to be making money for us. So if he does score, relatively well for us on any given week, it's a bonus. You got to look at it in terms of it being a bonus.
Maybe the reason Rochelle's not on my side is a sign.
What's the sign? What's the?
Just that I don't need him. I think he's just maybe he's not a good option. No, I think he's a good option. I think he's a good option. I'm going to bring him in. I think what we'll see from Rochelle, and I think Damon's hit the nail on the head. Sorry, here. His score is going to fluctuate. We're not expecting him to score hundreds each week or anything like that. He's going to be in a similar role to Rowe from last year, and we all know that he was the roller coaster with his scoring. So I think that's what you'll see. The scoring is going to fluctuate, but I think regardless of the uncertainty or the scoring uncertainty, I think we're going to need him as a decent option that's going to have that job security at the very least.
Very nice. And we have last question, Liam, sent in from Samuel Pope Denton. And this is a hard one. This really, it's almost crystal ball-esque. I think he knows that we're doing a compare the pair. Coming back in season. But he's comparing the quad almost, 2v2. So he's got Raoul and Hewitt or Berry and Sicily. I'll leave this one to you first up, Liam.
Yeah. To me, I want to say it's the first option of Raoul and Hewitt. I think there's the points up for grabs there is higher with those two than with Berry and Sicily. I think they'll be more consistently scoring highly. But that being said, I do have Raoul, Hewitt, and Berry in my side. I don't think you'll go wrong. I don't think you'll go wrong with either, but personally, I'd be leaning more towards Raoul and Hewitt. I think there's more upside with those two on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
I think Berry and Sis will probably they'll have their days where they score well, but I think they'll also have their days where they sort of just score averagely.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, like yourself, I've got Raoul, Hewitt, and Berry in my side. So, you know, that's my first option if you can do it, but obviously you can't because of your configuration with your team. It's hard as well because I actually had Sicily in my side and switched him down to Hewitt to save on cash. So I think it probably comes down to how much cash you need. So, you know, if you need to go for, I don't know in terms of which will be the lesser combined price option of, you know, the 2v2.
I would think that Berry Sicily would be because Sicily to Hewitt's not that big, but I think there's about 100K between Berry and Raoul.
Yeah, okay. So I reckon just make the decision based upon how much money you need to use elsewhere. You know, if you're having to be frugal by getting Raoul and Hewitt, and, you know, it's going to cost you a higher priced rookie, you know, of the caliber of a Horne Francis, Dacos, or a Ward or a Stevens even, pushing it that far, you know, I would probably, if it means you're going to have to sacrifice one of those guys, I would opt for the other option. Because for me, when I'm structuring my side, I don't want to be compromising my cash cow making ability either. So that's probably, without seeing your full side, it's probably hard to say as to which option to go for. But like you said, Liam, I think in terms of point making ability, I would probably back in Raoul and Hewitt over Berry and Sicily. But yeah, it's so small in terms of the margin between both of those because they all can score relatively similar in terms of floor and ceiling.
Yeah, so just do the quick maths. Hewitt and Raoul will set you back roughly 741K. And Berry and Sicily will set you back about 716. So
yep.
Yeah, it's sort of hard. It's hard in that sense. I think despite the sort of the higher price tag of the higher sort of the extra 25K, I think I'd be going for the Hewitt Raoul. I think looking at that has made me sort of a bit more sure because it's not that big a difference in price. Yep.
No, I agree there for sure. And with that, Liam, that actually brings us to the end of our episode. It's a bit more snappier compared to previous episodes. But if you have any other questions or, you know, dilemmas that you want to throw our way, feel free to do so across Facebook or Twitter. And just with that, if you aren't following us and you'd like to do so, you probably should. And just rolling through those handles. So on YouTube, search SuperCoach Edge and don't forget to like and subscribe. On Twitter, we are found at @supercoach_edge, or you can find myself at DamoJ88 or Liam at LiamEvans_95. And on Facebook, SuperCoach Edge, and Instagram, likewise, SuperCoach Edge.
And just a final reminder about our Patreon and most importantly, Tier 3. We obviously outlined the benefits at the top of the episode, but if you are keen to sign up and sweep the prize pool, now is your last chance. Don't leave it too late. The cutoff will be Tuesday, the 15th of March, that night. And for those, so that the night before the season begins. Yeah. And for those in the league that miss out on the major prize, you will be going into the running for an exclusive SuperCoach Edge prize, which will be announced soon. But to find out more and to join our Patreon, head to www.patreon.com/SuperCoach Edge.
Yes. Well, teams, they're going to be released tomorrow for the Wednesday game.
Exciting.
Yes. And Pure Panic, which is not so exciting. No. That will start to kick in. But at least this year, Liam, that we can reverse trades in round. So we can breathe a little bit easier.
Relax.
But no doubt still there's going to be panic. And I can feel the panic. So
I think I'm not as
creeping in.
panicked, I reckon, for tomorrow night because there's
yeah.
no rookies. There's no rookies.
True.
It's all just kind of your stock standard, your Gorns, your McRae's, your Bonts, your Dunkleys,
all the big
Petrarca.
boys.
You just know they're going to be named, so it's not too big a concern.
Yep.
Unless, I don't know, SuperCoach gods decide to smite us, but we never know.
They better not. But with that, let's wish everyone all the best because we are at the end of the episode, and I must say all the best for the coming days. Constructing lineups, all the panic and frivolity that goes into that. So, of course, I'm just going to impart some wisdom, Liam. May your primos primo, may your mid-prices score like mad, and your cash cows moo.
Yes, good luck for the round ahead. And for the SuperCoach season, I think it's going to be a good one.
Yep, absolutely. We'll catch you next week.